I'm reading from Fighting for Your Destiny, and I'm on to chapter 1. Abraham. The promise God gave to Abraham was not for himself alone, but included his descendants, Isaac and Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons, so Joseph, together with his 11 brothers and 1 sister, were the 4th generation from Abraham. And from these 12 sons of Jacob, we get all the tribes of Israel. I've already written extensively about Abram in a book entitled Abram, Father of Faith, so we'll only touch the surface concerning him here. God seemed to have nothing but praise for the life of Abraham. I can't recall any incident where God reprimanded him, even though many preachers have accused him of disobeying God's initial instructions to leave his father's house and family when he took Lot, his nephew, with him on his journey to the land God had promised to him, and apparently lying about his relationship with his wife, saying that she was his sister rather than confessing the whole truth. These apparent faults seemed unimportant to God, as we read in Psalm 105, that instead of calling Abram to account, he shielded him from blame. This is Psalm 105, verses 13 to 15. When they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. There is another terrifying scripture which we should look at very seriously before charging Abraham with sin in his life. For this is a covenant God made with him, which will last forever. Genesis 12, verse 3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Romans 8, verse 33. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It's God that justifieth. It would be wise for any preacher or teacher to be very careful how they portray Abraham. God made a promise to him that he would be shielded and protected from any potential enemies. If God does not charge him with misconduct, then be sure that any slanderous or libel words spoken about him will be recorded, and you will have to give an account for them, either in this life or in the life to come. Abram didn't do a single miracle during his lifetime, so was not operating in the gift of faith. However, he certainly had the fruit of faith, from Galatians 5:22. If there is no damage or disease to mar it, a rosebud is regarded as perfect, even though not fully developed. We have to go through many stages before we can reach maturity. What is the definition of sin? Well, according to 1 John 3, verse 4, sin is the transgression of the law. Abram, in every stage of his development in faith, was never accused of sin by God. His faith was growing and developing. God is always looking for faith, so Abram must have shown faith in everything he did, even in these questionable instances. For in Romans 14, verse 23, we read, For whatsoever is not of faith is sin. Even before the birth of Isaac, when God visited Abram in his tent, he said to the 2 angels with him, Shall I hide from Abram that thing which I do, seeing that Abram shall surely become a great and mighty nation? And all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him, for I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abram that which he hath spoken to him. That's Genesis 18, verses 17 to 19. God would not have said this concerning Abram unless he had first seen the evidence of it in his life. God had witnessed how Abram had brought up and nurtured his first son, Ishmael. He had poured his heart and soul into this boy, believing that he would continue on with the promise God had given to him long after he himself was dead. He had no idea that his aged wife, Sarah, would bear the promised seed in years to come. Abram proved beyond doubt his integrity to God, where his wife and family were concerned. and God was well satisfied. So much so that Abram was honoured with the amazing title, Friend of God. Let me encourage you to follow Abram's example, realising that his willing and unquestionable obedience was the very thing that delighted God and covered every imperfection you or I could possibly charge him with. The Bible states very clearly that without faith it is impossible to please God. And Abram, because of his faith, pleased his master so much that God started a brand new, eternal spiritual nation through his seed, which will continue even into the new heaven and earth, when this cosmos, as we know it, will have passed away forever.